Now, protests in essential services, whether in public or private sector, are having an increasingly profound effect on not only countries where they occur, but also internationally. While protests and strikes continue to form essential ultimate tools for employees to improve their conditions, greater attention needs to be paid to the rights of ordinary citizens to pursue their daily lives unhindered, and the right to society to protect their well-being and its own essential functioning. Joining me live to discuss all of the implications of protests by labor unions and some economic issues this time bothering everyone's mind. I'm being joined by the Deputy President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Gabriel Dahosa. Mr. Dahosa, good afternoon, and thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you.
Yes, let me ask very quickly, while the labor union members will tell you that they have the right to protest, but some would say the implication of just that 24 hours that almost was a protest, not really a strike, but the economic implication of this, some would say you can't even quantify it. How would you explain this to us and what it means for our economy?
I think the labor unions fully understand that. They know that it will impact the economy, but they also know that that is the way to pursue their ultimate objective, which is to get the government or other parties involved to listen much more closely and move quicker to find a solution. It is the impact on the economy that the labor unions know that it's not desirable. They are employees. They know it is not desirable, and they always say it's a last resort when they have tried every means of getting the government or the other party to stay on the negotiating table and get a result within a reasonable time. So that is a fact, and everywhere in the world, it is given that that is the intention, that the labor union always want to use a protest or a strike for the purpose of getting the other party to understand that it is time to have a solution. I don't think it's fun for them as for union leaders to call a protest, but they do so around the world when they feel that the other party is not moving fast enough or is not giving the kind of concession that they think is fair in the circumstances. So really, that's the lay of the land when you talk of impact of protests. Everybody knows. So the trade union do not, leaders don't pretend that they don't know. They know that, but they say, well, we've been talking for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we are not getting results. So maybe we have to go to the streets, and then you know that you need to move much quickly. So that's just the way it is.
All right, it's a good way to start it, but let's now look at the issues, Mr. Vice President. I know the LCCI has come out to speak around this in its entirety, but let's start with issues around some steps being taken by the president to address some of these issues headlong. We've seen the tax issue where the excise on some particular items have been removed. Government listening to manufacturers, trying to make the environment more conducive. Now, tell us, how has this impacted businesses? You talk to all of these people almost on a daily basis. Give us an update to what impact this is likely to have. Moving on.
I think the general impact is messaging. The business community is happy that we have a government that is listening very closely to other stakeholders and acting on the basis of that messaging. So, for example, those taxes that were opposed by the business community were immediately reversed by presidential orders by the new president a few days after he came into office. And then he started a couple of fiscal measures addressing the concerns of the business community. So generally, the business community is happy that the government is responding to a lot of our concerns. But I think the general expectation is that the government should move faster than it is moving now in addressing those concerns. It has done quite well in taking out the taxes, in talking about the CNG as a replacement for the petrol that is now off subsidy. But the essential concern is how fast are we going to see, for example, the CNG across the whole country? How fast and how cheap will it be to do those conversions so that the impact on cost of transportation will really come down? Generally, we are happy that the process has started. Some conversion of vehicles started in some states. We expect the process to be much faster than what we are getting now. And we expect also that the other policies that are supporting this should similarly be very fast. But again, the business community is aware that you need to have the ministers resume in their various departments, ministries, before some of these policies can be done. For example, you need a Minister of Finance to address some of the fiscal policies. You need a Minister of Justice to address security issues that have very significant impact on the economy. Those things cannot be done by the few advisors working with the President in the State House at this time. So once the ministers resume duty, we expect that there will be a lot more speed in implementing the measures that the President has announced so far.
Well, following that up, we see that they've suspended the action, though waiting for further moves also or implementation of some of the initiatives introduced by the President during his speech. And I'd like us to stay with that speech where we expect some manufacturers to get some form of loans, low credit, about 9%, and even we have small businesses getting grants and all of that. It seems like the monies from subsidy will really be channeled to productive sectors. What do you make of this, Mr. Dahusa?
Well, this is something the business community has said for perhaps the last 20 to 30 years, that there is nothing wrong with subsidies, but if you want to grow an economy, all those subsidies should go to the productive sectors of economic activity. It should go to farming, it should go to manufacturing, it should go to small business, it should go to energy that boosts the economy, both locally and internationally. This government got it and immediately is doing that. But the whole concern now is the speed at which these policies will be implemented and then methods. We will expect that most of the loans and other financial support to manufacturers and SME should be channeled through an agency like the Bank of Industry or the Development Bank of Nigeria that have the infrastructure, facilities, and the reach across the country. These two institutions will not waste any time deploying those funds. They have the systems already to deploy this fund. If the funds are allocated to any other agencies that we have to be learning how to disperse these funds, then we're going to have a lot of waste of time and possibility of the funds not being properly dispersed. So two things the business community is looking at: a lot more speed in implementing those decisions and channeling through the funds by well-established, credible agencies like Bank of Industry and the Development Bank of Nigeria that are sort of ready to go with this kind of disbursement any day. They don't need to be trained. They don't need to have the offices. They don't need to set up any offices. They don't need to do any preliminary preparation. They can pretty run from day one once the funds are made available to agencies like this.
Really getting so interesting. And I'm seeing a clean handshake between the fiscal and the monetary side this time around. We've seen ministerial nominees being screened, and of course, very soon, once all is done, we'll get to start to know who holds whichever portfolio. But I know that what concerns us in this angle as the Minister of Finance, but international planning, industry, trade, and investments. Let's stay with that for now. Then in the oil and gas sector, we know what will happen there, the aviation space and all of that. But let's stay with industry, trade, and investment. And of course, the Ministry of Finance, Budget, and National Planning. And Mr. Edos, I know we've been on this for some time, but let's set an agenda for whoever picks up this position. What are your expectations? Because a lot needs to be done. Trade policies, both in and out, AFCFTA is there that we're supposed to take full advantage of. I don't think we're doing that at the moment. So what are you thinking? What is running through your mind as organized private sector? What are you going to be telling whoever takes up this position?
Well, we are already communicating. There's no doubt about that. Business community and the president's men, women are in constant communication. Our expectations are very clear. The what you call the handshake, which is a seamless convergence of various government agencies, the Ministry of Finance, the Customs, the Ports of Authority, the Export Promotion Agency, the Investment Promotion Commission. All these agencies should be seamlessly integrated in the policies that will grow in the economy. So, for example, we want to fast track. One of the most important things we need to do in this country is to grow export very, very fast. So, from the Ministry of Finance giving the right incentives through customs to exporters, so the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment providing the logistic support to the institutions, whether it is Bank of Industry or the Bank of Nigeria, to ensure that the funds are moved very quickly through the government, these agencies. It is important that we do not have conflicts, which have been common in the past, between various agencies. So you don't have Ministry of Finance moving in one direction. The Ministry of Trade, whose primary responsibility is to grow trade, is moving in another direction. And then, of course, the Transport Ministry, the rail lines, the ports are moving in another direction. We are saying that all these agencies to come together and to say, if they want to support export, for example, what is the role of Ministry of Finance? What is the role of Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment? What is the role of the transport, and in particular, the terminals where exports are going to take place? It is that seamless convergence of policy and action that we are asking for. The big picture is very clear. The Ministry of Finance has to look at fiscal policies that enable the productive sector, manufacturing, and of course, processing of our commodities and resources like oil and gas and solid minerals, the processing of all of that. The resources that will be released to government should be released as fast as it can. The facilitating of the process of investors. There are a lot of investors around the world who are now very excited with the two major announcements of this government on the subsidy removal and the unified foreign exchange. They are willing to come into the country. So they'll be talking to the Ministry of Finance. What are the details of the rules of the game? We see the picture. What are the details they need to know? They need to know from the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. What are the incentives that were there? What incentives are being given to investors through primarily the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission and the Nigerian Export Promotion Council? Those new the additions to the old incentives should be laid bare on the table, and the implementation should be very, very seamless. The concept of a one-stop shop for foreign investors should be faithfully implemented. So when they are coming, they don't have to run through 20 or 30 ministries, departments, and agencies. They should be able to go to the one-stop shop that reports to the Ministry of Industry and Investment, have their business incorporated in Nigeria, have all their applications and permits processed, and have their foreign capital come into Nigeria quickly sorted out through the central bank and the commercial banks. So it is that efficiency of the system that the business community is looking at. But the confidence we have in the business community is that a good number of the names on the minister's list are business people. They are from the business community. They understand these issues. We have a sense from what the president has done so far that ministers will be fully empowered to drive the agenda that the president has laid down. There's no doubting the fact both the local and foreign business communities see that this is a business, pro-business friendly government that wants to grow the economy by empowering the business community. We get that message, but we want to see a full, fast execution by people who are competent to interpret the president's vision and quickly run with it. If the president has a vision, the ministers that are going to be in the key ministry, departments, and agencies have to be able to interpret the vision and to quickly execute it. You don't have to, in the business community, have to be running back to the president. So you said this, but your minister is now saying something else. That is one of the things we don't want in this new government.
Interesting stuff. I know setting an agenda can be so interesting. Now, the whole day we can go on with that. But I must thank you so much for your contributions. As usual, I've been speaking to Mr. Gabriel Idahosa. He is the Deputy President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you so much for always your support on the program. We appreciate your contributions.
Thank you.